AITA for leaving my unfaithful girlfriend stranded at a Hawaii resort? My name is Connor, a 32-year-old man. I have been working relentlessly for 5 years at a construction management company in Cleveland, Ohio. I started as a site supervisor and worked my way up to project manager. I am not rich, far from it, but I make a decent living, $85,000 a year, and I save as much as possible. I grew up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads in a rather rough neighborhood in Cleveland. The heat was cut off twice in the middle of winter when I was a kid, and I still remember my mother in tears at the kitchen table drowning in bills. That kind of thing marks you for life, you know. Because of that, I understood very early on that financial stability is never something to take lightly. With every paycheck, the first thing I do is put 20% aside. My buddies make fun of me, saying I am cheap, but I call it strategic spending. I drive a dependable 2012 Toyota Camry that runs perfectly. My apartment is decent without being luxurious. 2 bedrooms in a safe neighborhood with good parking. I could afford better, but why bother? My only real indulgence is my gaming setup. And even then, I built it piece by piece over time, taking advantage of sales and refurbished hardware. My ex, let us call her Kayla, 28, works in a very upscale marketing agency where she constantly complains about being underpaid, even though she earns almost as much as I do, $78,000. The difference is that she spends every penny and then some. Designer clothes, overpriced restaurants, the latest smartphone every year, it all goes. Her apartment was a stunning downtown loft that she could barely afford, with magazine-worthy furniture, all bought on credit. We met 3 years ago at my buddy Scott's housewarming party. Scott is an architect at a firm that sometimes collaborates with Kayla's company, and he thought we would hit it off. I was not looking for anything serious after my previous relationship ended in disaster. She had cheated on me with her close friend who, in the end, was not exactly what he seemed. But that is another story. But Kayla was incredibly beautiful. That perfect mix of cute and sexy that is hard to find. Long brown hair, green eyes, athletic but with curves, and she seemed to have her life well put together. Good job, her own place, confident, smart. The night we met, she was wearing a simple black dress that must have cost more than my car payment. But wow, she looked so good in it. We talked for hours about everything, our favorite streaming shows, our career ambitions. She was funny, sharp, and touched my arm every time she laughed at my jokes. The chemistry was crazy from the first conversation, and a few months later, we were officially together. The first year was great. We went away on weekends, tried new restaurants, had long discussions, and physically it was amazing. I genuinely thought I had found the one. My friends liked her. Even if Scott sometimes gave me weird looks when she made certain remarks, I ignored them because, let us just say, I was thinking with the wrong head. Looking back, there were so many red flags that I willfully ignored, like the fact that she always forgot her wallet when we went to expensive places. At first, it seemed cute. Oh shoot, I forgot my bag at home. But it happened way too often to be a coincidence. Or her little hints about the luxury bags her ex Trevor had bought her. Trevor got me a designer bag for our 6-month anniversary. It was sweet, but honestly a bit flashy. Always these subtle comparisons that made me feel like I was never good enough, or the fact that her credit cards were always maxed out despite her decent salary. She would casually mention that her card had been declined in a boutique and laugh about it, as if it were an amusing character trait. They should raise my limit. It is not my fault if everything cute is expensive. Fool that I was, I just told myself, she is bad with money, but she has a good heart. Spoiler, I was half right. Then, there were the constant emergencies that required financial help. Her car suddenly needed repairs. Her sister needed help paying her rent. Her laptop broke down right before a big presentation. I probably lent her close to $7,000 in 3 years and maybe got $1,000 back. Always with excuses like, her commission was late. Her expense reports had not been reimbursed yet. My buddy Justin tried to warn me once. We were drinking beers at his place when he told me straight up, "Dude, Kayla is using you like an ATM." I got defensive, we almost fought, and I did not speak to him for 2 weeks. I wish I had listened. Last year, my dad was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. It devastated me. He has always been my hero. His whole life in construction. He is the one who taught me everything. Building, fixing a car, defending myself. When he started chemo and became too weak to take care of himself, I moved him into my place for a few months. It was a no-brainer for me, but Kayla took it very badly. I thought we were going to move in together, and she complained literally the day after his first chemo session. Now we have to wait because your dad is monopolizing all your time and space. She was sitting on my couch scrolling through social media while my dad was getting sick in the bathroom from the treatment. He could clearly hear her complaining from the guest room. I asked her to keep her voice down, and she rolled her eyes, saying, "It is not like he is dying. People survive cancer all the time. My aunt had breast cancer, and she was barely sick. I should have ended the relationship right then and there, but I convinced myself she was just stressed from work and did not really mean it. She started coming over less and less while my dad was there, always with excuses about deadlines or girls' nights out. And when she did come, she made passive-aggressive remarks. It smells like a hospital in here. Or, maybe your dad would be more comfortable in a facility where professionals could take care of him." When my dad recovered enough to go back home, he pulled me aside and said, "Son, this girl will bring you nothing but heartache. I have met plenty of women like her on construction sites. They take everything and give nothing." I should have listened to the old man. He was always right about people. Fast forward to our 3rd anniversary. I decided to go all out and book a special vacation at a resort in Maui, Hawaii. It cost me almost $8,000. Flights, accommodation, activities, the whole package. It took me 8 months of saving, taking on extra jobs on weekends, supervising small renovations, and cutting all my expenses to the bare minimum. I even sold my gaming setup and replaced my car with an older model to make it happen. Kayla knew I was planning something big, but had no idea what. When I surprised her with the trip, her first question was not, "Wow," or "Thank you," but, "Are we flying first class?" We were not. I had already blown my budget on the resort itself. She sulked for a solid hour, then spent the next week complaining on the phone to her friends about how basic it was to go to Hawaii. Everyone goes to Hawaii, Courtney. I was hoping for Bali or the Maldives, something really Instagram-worthy. I heard her say that while I was in the other room pretending to be asleep. Despite everything, I was all in. I had even bought a ring. Nothing extravagant, just a simple diamond that still cost me an extra $3,000. I planned to propose on the last night during a private beach dinner I had organized. The reservation alone cost $500. Suffice it to say, I dodged a bullet. The resort was absolutely incredible. A private bungalow with our own jacuzzi overlooking the ocean, an all-inclusive meal plan, and even a personal concierge named Tyler who organized any activity we wanted. It was way above my usual budget, but I wanted it to be special. We landed in Maui after a long flight with a layover in Los Angeles. I was exhausted but excited to start the vacation. The resort had sent a private car to pick us up. Another splurge at $150 each way. Kayla immediately started complaining about the flight. Economy class had supposedly destroyed her back. Then she spent the entire car ride texting instead of admiring the incredible scenery of the island. When we arrived at the resort, I was speechless. Palm trees swaying in the breeze, an open-air lobby with a koi pond, the staff greeting us with fresh flower leis and cold towels. It was exactly like the pictures. Actually, better. I looked at Kayla expecting to see the same awe on her face, but she was busy comparing the place to a resort where her friend had stayed in Bora Bora. Our bungalow was even more amazing than I had imagined. Ocean view, king-size bed draped in white sheets, private deck with steps leading straight to the beach. I had requested rose petals on the bed and a bottle of sparkling cider. Kayla cleared her throat, did not like champagne, saying it gave her a headache, which cost me another $90. When we got inside, Kayla glanced around and said, "Oh, it is nice." Then she spent an hour rearranging the stuff in the bungalow because the arrangement of the room fell off, or whatever. The first evening, I suggested a walk on the beach at sunset. Romantic, right? Kayla said she was too tired and needed to recover from the stress of traveling. So she stayed in the bungalow scrolling through social media while I went out alone. I sent her a picture of the most beautiful sunset I have ever seen. She replied, "Nice," with a thumbs-up emoji. On the first night, Kayla wanted to go clubbing at the resort. I was completely jet-lagged, but I went anyway. She spent the whole evening dancing with guys who looked well off while I struggled to keep my eyes open at a table. She kept telling me to relax and stop acting like a grandpa. I was just exhausted from an 11-hour travel day. Some guy with a Rolex bought her a fancy mocktail, and she laughed at everything he said. When I brought it up later, she accused me of being controlling and jealous of everyone who talked to her. Our first night in paradise ended with her sleeping as far away from me as possible on the king-size bed. The second day was not much better. I had booked a couple's massage, but Kayla was tired and blew off the masseuse, saying she was pressing too hard. The poor woman looked on the verge of tears. After lunch, Kayla suddenly perked up when she spotted the resort's infinity pool where a lot of guys were hanging out. All of a sudden, she was very eager to enjoy the vacation. I noticed she was getting particularly friendly with a staff member, a buff guy named Blake, who worked at the pool. She laughed at everything he said, touched his arm, and played with her hair, the whole usual routine. "I am just being nice," she said when I mentioned it. "Oh my God, do not be so jealous during the whole trip. It is so unattractive." Meanwhile, Blake kept coming back to our lounge chairs, bringing Kayla free smoothies and extra towels. "For the pretty lady," he would say, barely acknowledging me. I tried not to think about it. The guy was probably just doing his job for tips. Later that evening, she kept texting while we were eating. Seriously nonstop. Every 30 seconds, she would check her phone with a smirk. When I asked her who she was talking to, she got defensive. "My God, Connor, you have to control everything I do. It is just Courtney from work. We are preparing a presentation for when I get back." I had met Courtney once, a tall blonde who looked at me like I was something she had stepped in. I always got the feeling she thought I was not good enough for Kayla. I had booked an incredible restaurant for dinner, a place famous for its farm-to-table Hawaiian cuisine with a 6-month wait list, and I had somehow managed to get us a table. The chef even came to our table to explain each dish. Kayla barely looked up from her phone, then complained that the portions were pretentious and said she wanted to stop for pizza on the way back to the resort. That night, Kayla claimed she was too tired for any intimacy, but then spent 2 hours in the bathroom getting ready for bed. When she finally came out, she simply rolled over and pretended to sleep. I noticed her phone kept lighting up with notifications that she would check when she thought I was asleep. The third day is when everything blew up. I had booked an exclusive helicopter tour over the volcanoes, $700 for the two of us. That morning, Kayla said she had a migraine and needed to stay behind. "Go ahead, honey. I will just rest by the pool when I feel better. No need for both of us to miss out since it is non-refundable." She seemed way too eager for me to go alone, but I figured maybe she really was sick. I almost canceled to stay with her, but she practically pushed me out the door. "I just need some sleep. Have fun." About 30 minutes into the helicopter flight, I could not stop thinking about how miserable this trip had been so far. Kayla seemed annoyed by everything I had planned, except when we were surrounded by other guys. The pilot was pointing out lava flows and incredible scenery, but I could not focus. Something was wrong. I faked feeling sick and asked the pilot if we could cut the flight short. I paid the full amount anyway. Then I headed back to the resort to see if Kayla was feeling better. The whole taxi ride back, I had a knot in my stomach. Call it intuition or whatever you want, but I knew something was off. The driver, an older local guy named Manny, must have noticed my expression. "Is everything okay, brother?" he asked me. "Yes, I am just worried about my girlfriend. She was not feeling well." He nodded, looking wise. "When my wife is not feeling well, I make her ginger tea and stay with her. 20 years of marriage next month." "That is awesome," I replied. "Any advice?" He thought for a moment. "Find someone who looks at you the same way when nobody is watching as when everybody is watching." Those words stuck with me as we pulled up to the resort entrance. I gave him a generous tip and thanked him for the advice. When I got back to our bungalow, I heard music. Not just any music, our playlist, the one I had created specifically for our special moments. My heart started beating so hard I thought it would break my ribs. I used the key card as quietly as possible. The main room was empty, but there were 2 half-empty smoothies on the table, not resort glasses. They were our personal tumblers, the ones I had brought as a surprise because Kayla once said she found it romantic to drink from the same cups while traveling. Clothes were scattered on the floor, a man's shirt I did not recognize, Kayla's bikini top. My hands started shaking. I heard muffled laughter coming from the bedroom, then a man's voice. "Your boyfriend really paid for all this? What a sucker." Kayla's reply made my blood run cold. Yeah, Connor is sweet, but so boring. Always saving for the future like we are already married or something. A girl needs a little excitement, you know? So you are going to dump him after this trip? Blake's voice. I know he has been wanting to dump me for months, but he is so desperate he takes whatever crumbs of attention I give him. It is kind of sad. Maybe I will finally go through with it when we get back. It depends on how things go between you and me this week while he is busy with his little activities. She laughed. A mean, mocking laugh I had never heard from her before. And the guy from your office you were telling me about? Asked Blake. Kyle, just a distraction when I get bored at work. He has money though. He took me to this fancy downtown sushi place last week while Connor thought I was at a girls' night out. Another laugh. Connor is so naive. I have been seeing Kyle for like 6 months, and he has no idea. I pushed the door open, and there they were. Kayla and the pool staff member. In a compromising intimate situation in the bed I was paying $600 a night for. They did not even notice me right away. When they did, Kayla's face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, embarrassment, fear, then weirdly, annoyance. Connor, what the heck? You were supposed to be on your excursion. She did not even try to cover herself properly. She just looked annoyed that I had interrupted. Blake at least had the decency to look ashamed. Dude. Sorry, she told me you guys had an arrangement. I could not even speak. 3 years. 3 years invested in this relationship. All the times I defended her to my friends when they said she seemed self-centered. All the overtime hours I took on to afford this trip. The ring in my suitcase that had cost me 3 months of savings. Are you just going to stand there staring? It is creepy, said Kayla, finally grabbing a sheet. Not to cover herself out of shame, but almost as if my presence bothered her. I do not think he is okay, muttered Blake, grabbing his clothes. He is fine, snapped Kayla. Connor, seriously, can you give us a minute? This is awkward. That was when something snapped inside me. Not in a violent way, more like a moment of perfect clarity. I suddenly saw Kayla, truly saw her for the first time, the arrogance, the selfishness, the casual cruelty, and I realized I had been blind for 3 years. At that exact moment, I also realized I held all the power in this situation. Every reservation was under my name, every activity, the room itself, the return flight, absolutely everything. Take all the time you need, I said with an almost disturbing calmness. I walked over to my suitcase and started packing my things. What are you doing? Demanded Kayla, suddenly worried. Not sad, not sorry, worried. What do you think? Do not be a drama queen. She rolled her eyes. It is not like we are married. You cannot just leave. Blake was scrambling to pick up his clothes. I should go. No, stay, I told him. You guys clearly have plans. Do not let me interrupt. Connor, you are being ridiculous, said Kayla in that tone I had heard 1,000 times. We still have 4 days left here. I made a mistake. Okay. People make mistakes. I simply kept packing my bags methodically. T-shirts, shorts, toiletry bag. The ring box. I shoved it deep into a side pocket. I pulled out my phone and quickly snapped a few pictures of the situation. Just insurance. Are you taking pictures? That is not right, screamed Kayla, finally covering herself. It is my room, I replied calmly. Blake was now fully dressed and almost ran to the door. Yeah, sorry man. As I also headed for the exit, Kayla grabbed my arm. You cannot just leave me here. How am I supposed to pay for all this? I smiled for the first time since walking into that room. Not my problem anymore. Connor, be reasonable. She used her sweet voice, the one she used when she wanted something expensive. Let us talk about this calmly. I know I screwed up, but you cannot abandon me in Hawaii. Watch me. I pulled away and walked out. As I closed the door, I heard her scream. You will be back. You always come crawling back. That is when I knew exactly what I was going to do. I stopped at the front desk and asked for a piece of paper and an envelope. I wrote quickly. Kayla, your return flight is flight 982 on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Seat 23C. Do not call me. I have blocked your number. Connor. I sealed the envelope, wrote, to be delivered tomorrow morning, on the front, and handed it to the concierge with a $20 tip. Could you deliver this to room 714 tomorrow around 10 a.m.? The concierge nodded. Of course, sir. Anything else? Yes, I need to speak to the resort manager. It is urgent. A woman named Laura came out, professional but visibly concerned upon seeing my expression. She looked to be in her 40s with kind eyes and the polished demeanor of someone who had worked in hospitality for years. "Mr. Henderson, I am Laura Bennett, the resort manager. How can I help you?" "I need to check out immediately," I told her. "Personal emergency." Laura guided me to a private office away from the lobby. She checked her computer. "Mr. Henderson, you still have 4 nights booked in our premium bungalow. There are significant early departure fees." "I will pay them," I replied. "And I have a question. All the reservations, activities, and dining credits are in my name, right?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, everything is linked to your registration and your payment method. And if I check out of the resort, what happens to those reservations?" Laura looked uncomfortable. "They would be automatically canceled and refunded to your card. Your guest would need to re-register under her own name and with her own payment method if she wishes to stay." That is when the full extent of my power in this situation dawned on me. The entire bungalow, the jet ski rental scheduled for the next day, the sunset cruise, the spa treatments, everything was in my name and on my card. "And the resort credit?" I asked. "We had about $2,000 in food and beverage credits included in the package. That would also be forfeited upon checkout," explained Laura. I thought for a moment. "And what is the daily rate for this bungalow if someone were to book it today?" "It is peak season. $950 a night, plus resort fees and taxes. Roughly $1,200 a night." I smiled. Kayla's credit limit was $5,000. She had used almost all of it to buy herself a new wardrobe for this trip. New bikinis, dresses, sandals, everything. She had shown me her card statement by accident while complaining about a charge, and I had seen that she had less than $200 of available credit left. "One last thing," I said. "Could you hold off on informing the other guest of my departure until tomorrow morning? I would like to avoid a scene." Laura seemed to understand exactly what was going on. "Of course, sir, we can handle this discreetly. And could you ensure that housekeeping does not enter the room before I leave? I still need to grab a few things." She nodded as if she already knew. "Certainly, the checkout will be officially processed at midnight, but your keycard will remain active until 10 a.m. tomorrow." I thanked her and got ready to leave. Then I added, "Oh, and please note that Blake from the pool area has been entering guest rooms without authorization. You might want to investigate that." Laura's expression hardened slightly. "Thank you for letting us know. We take our staff's conduct very seriously." She typed something on her computer. "Mr. Henderson, I am truly sorry that your stay with us was compromised. I have taken the liberty of waiving the early departure fees, and I would also like to offer you a 50% discount should you choose to return to our resort in the future." That surprised me. "Thank you, but it is not necessary. We pride ourselves on providing our guests with a relaxing and enjoyable experience," she replied firmly. "We have clearly failed on that front." She handed me her business card. "If you wish to book again, perhaps at a time when you can truly enjoy our facilities, please do not hesitate to contact me directly." I went back to the room to get the rest of my things. Kayla was in the shower, probably trying to compose herself. I could hear her humming, completely indifferent to what had just happened. I quickly grabbed my stuff, including my passport and the return flight information, the only printed copy we had. I took a picture of the flight details so she could still get home, even if she did not know it yet. I noticed her purse sitting on the table. For a split second, I considered taking her wallet or her ID, to make things truly impossible for her. But I am not that kind of person. Besides, my response would be much sweeter without crossing that line. I left my keycard on the table and walked out without saying goodbye. As I closed the door, I heard the shower water turn off. Part of me wanted to stay and confront her one more time, but I knew there was nothing left to say. I booked a room at another hotel on the other side of the island. A modest place, nothing fancy, at $180 a night. The relief of being out of that situation was immediate and physical, as if I was finally putting down a massive weight I had been carrying for years. I turned off my phone and went for a long walk on a public beach, watching families play in the waves and couples hold hands. For the first time in years, I felt free. When I turned my phone back on the next morning, I had 28 missed calls and over 50 text messages from Kayla. I read them while having breakfast at a small local cafe, far from the tourist areas. The first messages were aggressive. "Where the heck are you? Stop acting like a child and come back." Then confused. The restaurant says our reservation for tonight was canceled. What is going on? Then panicked when reality started to set in. The front desk just called me and said you checked out. They want me to pay $1,200 for tonight or leave by noon. Connor, this is not funny. Then desperate. My card was declined. They say I have to leave. Where do I go? I do not have enough for a ticket back. They are making me pay for everything. The manager says all the reservations were canceled when you left. The jet skis, the luau, everything. Connor, I cannot afford this. My parents are not answering. Courtney is not answering either. Where am I going to go? The hotel says they are fully booked and I have to be out by 1 p.m. I looked elsewhere. Everything under $500 is fully booked. Connor, please, I know I screwed up, but you cannot do this to me. Each message became more and more desperate. The last ones were nothing but crying emojis and please call me on loop. I sent a single message. Looks like you have a problem. Maybe Blake can help you. She called immediately. I let it ring to voicemail. Her message was hysterical. Connor, please, I made a terrible mistake. They are kicking me out and I have nowhere to go. All the hotels are booked or too expensive. I call my parents. They are not answering. I am begging you. I replied by text. Your return flight is still booked for Saturday. Your name is on the reservation. Her reply came instantly. That is in 4 days. What do I do until then? I only have $300 in cash. Please, Connor, I will do anything. We can fix this. I promise it will never happen again. I replied. You should have thought about the consequences before betraying me with the pool guy. Have a good life, Kayla. Then I blocked her. Later that day, I got a call from her friend Courtney, her so-called co-worker, who I had always suspected knew about her cheating. You are a real piece of work, spat Courtney. Leaving a woman stranded in Hawaii? Super mature. Funny, I replied. I thought equality was about standing on your own. Kayla is an independent woman with a job and a credit card. She will figure it out. Her card is maxed out, and the only hotel with available rooms is asking for $500 a night. She is sitting in a coffee shop with her bags right now. Looks like she should have thought of that before getting involved with the pool staff member in my $600 a night room. Silence from Courtney. Then, wait, what? Oh, she did not tell you that part. Ask her about Blake, the pool guy. You know, the moment I caught them together after she faked a migraine to get me away from the resort. She told me you guys had a fight and you stormed out over nothing, replied Courtney, her voice suddenly hesitant. Yeah, well, she is lying, just like she probably lied to you about other things. What do you mean? Ask her about Kyle from the office. The guy she has been seeing behind my back for 6 months. I heard her telling Blake all about it right before I caught them. Another long silence. I have to go. An hour later, I received a text from an unknown number. It is Courtney. I am sorry, I did not know what really happened. She lied to all of us. I spent the rest of my stay in Hawaii actually enjoying it. Surfing, hiking a volcano, eating at small local spots instead of tourist traps. I met some great people at the hotel who invited me to tag along on a snorkeling trip. Best vacation of my life. Once the dead weight was gone, I still felt a tiny twinge of guilt knowing Kayla was potentially stranded there. So, I anonymously paid for 2 nights at a cheap motel and asked the front desk to give her the key when she showed up. Not because she deserved it, but because I needed to know I was still a good person, even if she was not. On the 3rd day of my freedom, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Scott. Dude, what happened? Kayla's parents called me trying to track you down. I gave him the condensed version. He was quiet for a moment, then let out a breath. I am sorry. I should have warned you. What do you mean? He let out a long sigh. I had heard rumors about her and Kyle, the guy from the office, a few months ago. I did not want to believe it without proof, you know. I figured it was maybe just gossip. Why did you not even tell me about the rumors? I tried. Remember that night at Justin's when I said we needed to talk about Kayla? You cut me off saying I was just jealous because I was single. He was right. I had said that. I had been so defensive about her. Do you know what happened to her? I asked, not out of care, but out of pure morbid curiosity. From what I heard, she finally reached her parents who sent her emergency money. They were furious, like really furious. Apparently, she told them she had lost her wallet, but the resort manager called them directly about the situation with Blake. I laughed despite myself. Laura called her parents? That definitely sounds like something she would do. We contacted MS. Wilson's emergency contacts as she appeared to be in distress. Honestly, I think the manager wanted to help her, but ended up exposing her lie in the process. When I got home, Scott was waiting for me at the airport. Man, you look different. Tanned. But also, I do not know, lighter. Amazing what getting rid of a toxic relationship can do for morale, I replied half-jokingly. He drove me home and filled me in on what happened while I was away. Kayla had been telling everyone that I abandoned her in Hawaii after a petty argument. I showed him the pictures I had taken when I walked into the room. Yes, I had the presence of mind to quickly snap 2 or 3 as proof before they noticed me. His jaw dropped. Holy crap. She told me you guys fought because you were controlling her spending during the trip. Classic Kayla, always twisting the truth, I said. How did she get back in the end? Scott burst out laughing. This is the best part. She had to call her parents who wired her money for a hotel and an earlier flight. She has been living with them since she got back, too ashamed to face anyone. At her parents' house, that must have been a fun conversation. Oh, wait, it gets better, continued Scott. When they asked her why she needed emergency money, she told them about a fight. But then Blake, the pool guy, called the resort looking for her, and the manager mentioned to her parents that there had been an incident involving their daughter and a staff member. I could not help but laugh. So her parents know pretty much everything. And wait, the guy from the office, Kyle, turns out he and Kayla had been seeing each other for months. He called me to find out what happened because Kayla suddenly blocked him on everything. Wait, Kyle called you? How did he get your number? Scott shrugged. We met before at professional events. He said he wanted to clear the air with you. Apparently, Kayla had told him that you guys were practically broken up and were just faking it. He had no idea he was Plan B. 2 days later, my doorbell rang. It was Kayla's dad, Gary. I had always liked him. A straight shooter, old school, a mechanic his whole life. Connor, he said, looking uncomfortable. Do you have a minute? I let him in and offered him some water. He sat heavily on my couch, looking exhausted. Kayla told us what really happened. Her mother and I are ashamed. We raised her better than that. It is not your fault, Gary. Maybe, maybe not, but I am sorry anyway. He pulled out his wallet. I want to pay you back for the trip. It is not right that you lost all that money. I shook my head. Keep it. Consider it the price I paid to find out who she really was before making an even bigger mistake. He looked me straight in the eye. She is telling people that you were controlling, that you isolated her from her friends. Be careful. My daughter can be very vindictive when her pride is hurt. After Gary left, I got a text from Kayla's sister, Amanda, warning me that Kayla was planning to show up with a fake pregnancy story. Sure enough, she showed up at my place that night, claiming she was late. When I confronted her about the lie, her face went from vulnerable to furious in a second, threatening to ruin my reputation at work. I filed a police report to document the threats and explained everything to my boss, with proof to back it up. 2 weeks later, Kayla suddenly moved to Chicago for a great career opportunity. Life is better now. I am going on vacation next month, solo this time. The money I saved for Kayla's engagement ring is instead funding a 2-week trip to Thailand. Sometimes, the best response is not just leaving someone who treats you poorly. It is letting them face the consequences of their own actions while you move forward to a better life. Edit. I did not expect this to blow up like this overnight. To answer the most frequently asked questions, the total cost of the trip was around $8,000. An expensive lesson, but cheaper than a divorce. Yes, Blake got fired. Yes, I changed my locks, blocked Kayla everywhere, and checked my credit report. Comment. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this story with me today. What stood out to me the most is how vital it is to honor our own boundaries. I truly believe self-respect means knowing when it's time to step away from what no longer serves us. Choosing your peace can feel scary at first, but it opens the door to real healing. Remember to be gentle and kind with yourself throughout the process. Taking responsibility for your happiness is one of the most empowering things you can do. I hope you take a moment to reflect on the relationships around you. You deserve to be surrounded by people who truly value you. Walking away from what drains you is an act of courage and love for yourself. I'm rooting for you to build the calm, respectful life you truly deserve. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.